Cool. Hello, everyone, and welcome to hashtag Lead LSE Question Time 2025. My name's Alexander, and this is Hannah. We are sharing/hosting this evening at very short notice, which is why we're not in our glad rags or have made any effort at all. Over the next 2 hours, you'll be hearing from the candidates fighting it out to be the leaders of your students' union this year. So that's the Welfare and Liberation Officer, Education Officer, Activities and Communities Officer, and General Secretary, who make up our Sabbatical Officer team. As a group, they work full time to lead the Students' Union and fight for the rights of LSE students and make change to make life better for us as students.
They take control of the union's budget and resources, heading up the union's campaigns and deciding what the union does. They also act as the chief representative of all LSE students at the university, meeting regularly with university management and decision makers to represent the interests of all students.
So, how's tonight going to work? Each candidate will get the opportunity to deliver a 2-minute speech convincing you why they deserve your vote. Then we will use the remaining time to ask the questions to the candidates that have been submitted by students and approved by our democracy committee, who will each in turn get an opportunity to answer the question in a minute. Oh, actually, no, 2 minutes, sorry. Each officer role will get 25 minutes, and then we will have a 5-minute break to swap over in between each role.
So just some housekeeping before we get started. All questions have been submitted in advance, some by students. So we won't be taking questions from the audience during this event. You might need to laugh at the end of this sentence just for the effect of the live stream. But this event may contain loud noises, but that's dependent on whether the candidates are inspiring enough to make you want to whoop or laugh or cry or clap. Ha 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 ha. Thank you.
We ask candidates to keep answers to the point because we all want to get home at some point this evening. And apologies in advance if me and Hannah interrupt you, but we're going to try and keep us quite strictly to time so that we finish on time at 8 o'clock. Please feel free to leave this event whenever. The doors are not locked. We understand that there may be upsetting topics discussed, or some students may need to leave to observe iftar, etc. So leave whenever you can, but try and just keep the disturbance to a minimum. Right then, here we go.
Is this on? Yes, hello. So we're going to get started with Education Officer. The Education Officer is responsible for leading change in teaching and learning within LSE. They raise awareness of academic issues, liaising with both students, academic representatives, academics and the Directorate to ensure that students have a voice and reputation within the SU and the university. They will also take the lead on national educational policy and issues. They will sit on the school decision-making bodies, including the academic board, and will co-chair the consultative forums. Would the candidates for Education Officer like to approach me? Cool. So everyone has got a bit of an opportunity to introduce yourselves and your manifesto. I'm not really particular about which order you want to go in, so if anyone wants to go first, please stand up. Otherwise, I'll just pick on one of you.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Lovely. But yeah, if you just introduce yourselves, why you want to be this role, what your manifesto points are.
Okay. Before I start, I just want to wish everyone a good luck here and say that I was telling them we're all amazing and I wish we can all be on the team. Anyway, all right. Hi, everyone. My name is Mo Cherry, and I'm running for the Education Officer position at the LSESU. My motto is, or my slogan is, vote more, vote Mo, and get more. What does that mean? More affordable food prices on campus, more curated study spaces, more curated opportunities, and finally, more personalized feedback from our professors. I have 6 years of experience working at a university in a leadership program. There, I dedicated my time to organizing workshops that promoted feminism, LGBTQ+ rights, civic advocacy, and citizenship. What does that mean? That meant that these values have been instilled in me and have become a part of me. However, I am sad to see that today at LSE, we're having to put these values in our manifestos for them to be taken seriously. This should not be a topic of discussion. They should be a part of our work at LSE. So when I say more affordable food prices, I mean halal, kosher, and vegan options. When I say more conducive study spaces, I mean accessible and safe spaces. And when I say more curated career opportunities, I am saying more equitable resources for all and every community alike. And finally, when I am saying more personalized feedback from our faculty, that means that our faculty have to understand and know us on individual levels and our lived experiences and help us get to the best potential possible individually. So as a final reminder, I want to remind you that when you vote for Mo, you vote for more, and that means more for all of us. Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chidima Onyebo, and I am the current General Course President. And yes, as a General Course student, we are allowed to run. And currently, I'm wanted for Education Officer. If you were to ask me to summarize my campaign, I would say the burden of education shouldn't be borne by the student alone, but by your academic team, which includes your professor, your academic mentor, the department, and other resources LSE has made available to you. As a person with a learning disability, I've experienced the trauma of fighting for your learning adjustments to be adhered to. As the education officer, I would love you to have learning adjustments reinforced in practicality, not just on paper. Education should never be a chore. Sharing the lived experience of working on and off campus, I'll look for avenues to create more on campus job opportunities to aim at reducing commuting time, which can instead be used for studying or participating in extracurriculars. Being Black at LSE means not seeing representation in your classes or your professors or the possibility of the ethnic awarding gap. To improve the Black experience, I would love you to reinstate the PhD pipeline for Black second year undergraduates and to increase full-time Black professors from 2 to as many as we need. I'll also expand initiatives and tangible products to close the ethnic awarding gap and continue working on the Black Student Experience Group to improve the experience of Black students. Now, in the intersection of all of this is where I lie, along with many other students, and we share this experience. As your education officer, I'll be the voice advocating for you. So, if you see something that doesn't look right, please speak to Chidima Onyebo and she will sort it out. Chidi sees it, Chidi says it, Chidi sorts it. Thank you.
Ladies, gentlemen, and all people in between. My name is Rachit, and I'm running for education officer. I study environment and development. It's a master's degree, and I'm also a theater of the oppressed practitioner. So I have read everyone's manifesto, and I think we are at the same picture, same page. And I think we should make a team. Actually, doesn't matter who wins, which is great. But I think I have proposed those ideas in a little better way. I think with a lot of things happening right now in the world, illegal occupation and genocide of indigenous communities, things happening in Gaza. We need to talk about this in our classroom as well because it disturbs us a lot. Climate change, racial justice, and a lot of things that we want to talk about it. So I think that needs to come in our curriculum as well. At the same time, we need jobs. We need part-time work as well during our degree because it's difficult to afford living here, and a lot of expenses that we see here. We need part-time jobs as well. And career hub is not working really well. I mean, you have to spend a whole day to apply for a job and you get a rejection. So it needs to be changed. It should become in a way that it saves our time as well. So how are we going to do that? It's a point, and it's really difficult thing to do. I mean, it makes you vulnerable. You have to actually stand and fight with people in power when you are in a meeting, and at the same time you have to read a lot. And I think I am that geek person as well. So uh, f- what makes me better in the for this position? So I have worked in social movements back in India, and I have also been an ethnographer. just 30 seconds. Okay, I have been an ethnographer. So I think education should do one thing. One is to liberate us, and second is to give us employment. And I think that I'm going to force people to do that. And yeah, I'm going to carry on the legacy of Student Union. That's the work they're already doing. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, incredible people of LSE. Hi. I say decolonize learning. I say demand accessibility. And I also say dismantle inequality. Now, why do you think I say this? Well, as someone who has very much experienced how overwhelming it could be to study here at the LSE, for a number of reasons. Number one, I did not come from a middle class or upper class background. I came from a working class background. My parents are immigrants. We lived in an area in London that is quite underdeveloped. There wasn't as many resources. And so the fact that I even got to step foot in this institution was for me a miracle. And then from the moment I stepped in, I was like, instantly scarcity mindset. I need to make the most of all the opportunities. I need to enroll in every single society. I need to do all these different things in order to increase my, opportunities for the future. But actually, all that did was overwhelm me. All that did was make me see myself as someone that needs to compare my abilities to other people. And I did let myself shine. Now, I'm someone who studies anthropology. I'm in the third year. Yeah, woo! Third year studying anthropology at the LSE. Now, our department is quite small. And the moment I stepped in, by the way, even when I applied for my degree, I was like, wait, when is anthropology? Okay. But I was instantly comparing myself to other people, especially to international students, because I felt like there was a lot of international students that did study anthropology before, but that I hadn't. And so I was put in a position where I immediately wanted to drop out, but I pushed through. Why did I push through? Well, that was only because I created friendships with people in my department. I actively went out and I created relationships with people in the university who I knew could support me. That included mentors, that included professors, that included staff and students alike. And now it was because of the support that I received from other people that I realized how incredible LSE could really be. So please vote for Noor and vote to dismantle inequality in LSE.
Cool, thank you everyone. Just to note as well for the viewers online and in the room, we also have two other candidates for education officer. The first one is Debbie Afloo, and the second is reopen nominations, or as we like to call him, Ron. Lovely, so I'm going to ask a couple of questions to all candidates. Like I said, these have been selected by students and by staff, so all very nice questions, I'm sure. I am going to ask in a particular order each time, just so it's fairness. No one's going first every time, just so everyone knows we are fair here at LSESU. So the first question is, if you were elected, what would your top priority be whilst in office? And I'm going to go with Chidinma in the first question, sorry.
Okay. My whole campaign is based on wearing a shirt that says something on the front and the back. And yesterday, the shirt I wore said, learning disabilities have accommodations, and the back said, my accommodations should be adhered to. And I think that's the most conversations I've had with people complaining that their academic accommodations weren't being adhered to. And most people don't know that your academic accommodations are legally meant to be adhered to, but in LSE, they're not in practicality, they're not being adhered to. So my top priority will be to ensure that people that have academic accommodations are being used in the classroom, and each department has put up a system to ensure that professors are using them. And when they're not using them, students can report and make sure that this is actually being followed. I really believe that education shouldn't be a chore, and I don't have to be traumatized to enjoy my education process. Thank you.
So, as I already mentioned that I really want to see our curriculum getting diversified. We really want to talk about the issues that we are facing in the world. So and students should also dictate what they want to study in their classrooms. I'm really going to push and create sort of mechanism where student can directly give their feedback, and it can also come up in the classroom as well in the same course. And the second thing is to make examination system a bit easier for students, because it's a bit harsh for us the way that exams come up, and it gives us stress, and it's just an evaluation system, so it should be very easy for us. And also, I really want to improve career serve. More jobs opportunities should come in, and it should make it easier for us to apply. I mean, something where we can just create a profile and just one click and we are applying for the job. It doesn't matter. I mean, no one really cares for your CV that you have to write and change again and again. And LSE should actually accommodate their students to get and find jobs in an easy way. Also, I was thinking to bring people through student union to come and maybe directly talk to people, have something like, it's a very Indian thing to have placement based fairs where people from different companies can come in and actually directly talk to students, those who want to work with them. Yeah, those are the things that I am looking forward. Yeah. Thank you.
So, what my top priority will be? Well, the first thing that we can all agree on is that there is so many things that we all go through, both in our academic careers and in our professional careers, and even in our private life. And it's really difficult to pick one top priority because we all have such diverse needs. It depends on your ethnic background or your economic background, or if you're an international student or if you're not, or if you are a postgrad, or if you're an undergrad. Okay, master's or PhD. Are you applying for a job? Are you applying for an internship? Do you want experience? A whole host of things, which is why I think that it should be a step-by-step process without neglecting all the other important things. So, for example, the first thing that I want to do is enhance student support and student access. What can that look like? Well, first thing it tackles many things. So one of the things I want to do is publicize past students' advice on all modules to help current students. That's one on one of my modules. My incredible politics teacher, what he does is that there is a forum where you have different people who have their feedback from the course and what you should look out for when you're writing assessments, because you want to hear what other students have, not just the teachers, right? Also, I want to review training, support, and protection for graduate teaching assistants. Especially in the last year, we've seen with the contentious issues going on around Palestine and in Gaza, a lot of GTAs that I know were afraid to speak out because they felt like they were jeopardizing their careers, which is a horrible position to be in. You are in LSE to further your career and to teach students. You should not be worried about jeopardizing your career because you are standing up for justice. It is not okay. We need to protect them, and we need to provide a place for them to also feel like they can actually teach us properly. Also, what I would like to do is enhance postgraduate study application, transition, and integration support. So that looks like a whole host of things. Undergraduates, you want to apply for a postgraduate degree in a master's or a PhD, how would you do that? Well, I want to provide the support for that.
All right, I'm going to keep it brief, but I think what I'm going to prioritize as the top thing if I get elected has to cover all of these things. So we have amazing candidates with amazing views. And in my manifesto, I give you 4 things that are kind of not related, but they are, because my manifesto says education should be dealt with holistically. What I'm going to prioritize as my top thing is to break the silos at LSE. We have so many amazing initiatives, but I don't think that these departments or these initiatives are speaking to one another. If we're trying to each tackle one problem at a time, we're not going to get anywhere. If we break the silos, combine our hands and efforts, then we can get somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, in your opinion, what is the biggest issue impacting the academic experience of LSE students? Ratchet, do you want to go first?
So I think there's something which my professor in previous universities told me, that we learn more from our peers than directly from teacher. So I think there is very less interaction apart from seminar that we have once a week. There is very less interaction among students, especially among undergrad, postgrad, and PhD students. uh, I really want them to interact more, and I would also try to bring something that actually gives opportunity to have more interaction among different students. And I think, yeah, that's something that I really want to work in this context.
So just to reiterate, the question was, in your opinion, what is the biggest issue impacting the academic experience of students at LSE?
I think, as an anthropology student, I have to be controversial. We, as departments, are not speaking to each other. There's a departmental disparity, and it needs to be addressed. Our department is small, yes, but that doesn't mean that the resources and the opportunities that are afforded to us shouldn't should be the thing that are stopping us or hindering our experience. Because I'm at LSE and I want to study the educational opportunities that LSE provides, not that only what the Department of Anthropology provides. You know, economic students, law students, I'm happy for you. I'm rooting for you guys, right? But smaller departments also need the support that they deserve. And so one thing that I want to do is ensure that there isn't any departmental disparity. And that would include and not only would that mean more resources or equitable resources for all departments, but also means diversifying the Eurocentric curriculum that we all have, right? We need to introduce disciplinary dialogue spaces, places where we can talk about contentious issues in a place where we can speak to each other regardless of what department you're in. That could include an event, that could include a specific room that, you know, host an event and stuff like that. You know, it's fun having debates with people or just discussions with people about day-to-day life or global issues that you guys care about. Also, what I want to do is I want to promote Gen Den and non-academic courses. Non-academic courses are one of the best things that you can do in order to actually study and learn about the world. You know, like Ratchet very smartly said, and it's very true, that you don't just learn in the classroom, you learn from your peers and from the world around you. What you need to do is interact with the rest of the world around you as well. And so I want to provide an opportunity for that. Another way that I want to do that is also introduce a community module. So I want to do a partnership with LSE Life. There's multiple things that I want to do. One of the first things I want to do is introduce a community module. And this module will allow you to tackle any issues that you feel in your local community or in the wider global community that you think that you know how to tackle best. So thank you.
Just as a reminder, it's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so to keep it short again, when it comes to students, and for my 6 months here, I've seen one thing, is that LSE has so much to offer us, but we have no time to do anything. And I think the biggest issue here is finding a way where we can help students do the best they can with what they want, given the resources that LSE has so generously offered us. So that goes to actually one of my points on my manifesto, which is by having a curated, centralized system. And when we have that, then I, as a student, let's say me, a psychology student who's interested in organizational development in the region, let's say the Middle East, I can filter everything out, see the talks, series, and the possible internships going on, and go after that. So I think this is a major issue that we need to solve just to make the best out of our experience at LSE. Thank you.
So LSE has a lot of one-year programs. So you come in September and you're leaving sometime in August, and you don't have time to be aware of the resources that are available to you or how to use them. I believe the biggest issue impacting academic experience is the lack of awareness for resources available. When I came as a general course student, I was overwhelmed. I was in a new place, a new school. I recently got diagnosed with dyslexia, so I needed my accommodations done, but I didn't know where to go. I didn't even know there was a welcome week. I wasn't even aware about the position general course president, but apparently it was advertised. I think having your department let you know, hi, this is what you need to do. Here's the mental health support you need. Here is LSE Life if you have exams. Here are the communities, the available societies. They should be told as soon as you come in, rather than going through the process. And like, I'm 7 months in, and when I talk to people and they mention like the peer resource for if you're neurodivergent, I just found out about that. Many people don't know this resource is available to them and they can use it. So if I was education officer, the first thing I would do is to ensure that every department has a list of every resource available to students, and they give it out to them as soon as the semester starts. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got 2 more questions. This one is quite rapid fire, so be prepared. Should higher education be free? Yeah. No, would you like to go first?
Guys, can we all yell the answer in like
Yeah.
3, 2, 1?
Yes.
Yes. The answer is definitely yes. Higher education should be free. I do not understand why, over the last couple of years, over the last decade, the tuition fees are skyrocketing. And I shouldn't be put in a position where I want to study a subject because I know it's going to further my career, or I just find it interesting and it's something that I want to learn personally. And the only thing stopping me is the fact that it's too expensive. Or I'm going to be in debt. How am I going to pay this back? That is not, these aren't the sort of questions that we should be thinking about on a day-to-day basis, right? So yes, education should be free, because not only does education, especially at higher education, you don't just go into the classroom and then leave the classroom. No, the amount of resources that are available to you at universities are completely different from what the outside world, right? You have mentors. In the outside world, you don't necessarily have mentors. You have financial support that you need. You have opportunities to engage with the wider communities and local communities, meet people that you wouldn't have ever met, people from international students, right? And you also have a wide range of resources that are available to you. We need higher education because of the space that it provides us and the opportunities, not just because it gives us a degree that we can slap on a job application. Thank you.
As my colleague said, the answer is obvious. Yes, it should be free. And the also why is obvious: social equality. If I'm someone who did not have the same opportunities just because I did not win the being born lottery, then I need to have the opportunity to come to an education or an educational institution that can help me rise and help me go through a proper learning experience. So I don't think there's more to be said, honestly. I'm interested to hear if someone thinks education should not be free, and then I can answer that question. Thank you.
The answer is yes. One, because with the whole thing happening with Congo, Sudan, Gaza, etc., you can't fight the person oppressing you if you don't know your history or your oppressor's history. For example, if you go outside and you mention Palestine and Israel war, they'll be like, no, but Palestine went to Israel first. And it's like, you don't know the history of what happened there. So how can you pick a side when you're unaware of what's happening? So education should be free so everyone knows what they're fighting for and the reason behind every fight and every fight we have against genocides. Thank you.
I mean, it is definitely a very obvious answer, yes. But I think if we problematize the situation, I think most of us take education loan and then get stuck, and we have to sort of become part of the system, and then we never actually choose many things for us. So I think there is definitely a problem, and we have to challenge that. And this is how I think we can go towards free education. I think Empire can do it. Empire can pay our fees, I guess.
This is the last question for education officer. Sorry, nice to have you. This is a wildcard question, so you won't have received this beforehand. You've got 10 seconds to answer, well, maybe a bit more, 20. Who would be your ideal dinner guest? Dinner party guest? Sorry, that was me. Who would be your ideal dinner party guest and why in 20 seconds? I'll give you 5 seconds to think.
Who is alive?
Alive or dead? Or not real? Yeah, let's go fictional too. The world is your oyster. Yeah, if you're ready.
Oh, this is easy. Angela Davis. So she's a feminist and she's a sociologist that's very much anti-capitalism. And she recently spoke for International Women's Day at Royal Albert Hall. And everything she said, first from being on the FBI top 10 most wanted to having her whole degree stripped of her, has been beautiful. And I think everyone should read about her. Thank you.
else want to go?
Donald Trump, because I'm going to give him a knuckle sandwich. Yeah.
I think someone who has really inspired me is Ambedkar, B.R. Ambedkar from India. I would really want to at least know what aura he has to influence many people in India. Yeah.
I would say maybe very obviously Martin Luther King, because I aspire to have the energy and the strength of social mobility that he had and changed. Thank you.
Very good answers. That's it for Education Officer. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we'll have a quick 3-minute break and then we'll move on to the next role. But thank you so much for answering this. Back in 3 minutes.
Thank you.
So much. I'm gonna lose. You did so
Cool, amazing. Let's crack on. For our next position, we are speaking to our Welfare and Liberation Officer candidates. The Welfare and Liberation Officer leads on initiatives that advance and support student welfare, particularly for those marginalised within their educational experience and across wider society. They will undergo negotiations with the school to improve issues such as off-campus housing support and the cost of living crisis, student well-being, equality and diversity issues, and access to higher education. They will work closely with the part-time officers elected to represent marginalised groups, supporting them with their campaigns and projects. They will sit on working groups concerning communities and student well-being, including the EDI Advisory Board, the Harassment and Safeguarding Forum, and the Residences User Group. Amazing. Who's up first? Off you go.
Hi everyone, my name's Isabel and I'm going to be running for the Welfare and Liberation Officer role. I'm a third year undergrad student studying politics and I'm also the president of the LGBTQ+ Society. So I want to be Welfare and Liberation Officer because I feel students should be safe on campus and they should feel guided and supported by staff and they should be informed by the student union. And I feel that when resources don't provide these things, that will just perpetuate inequality further. And I think that's a massive problem at LSE. So when I'm thinking about the ways in which these are obstructed, I think about things that have limited capacity, things where the criteria for support is confusing or it takes a lot of time to work out. I'm thinking about when staff are perhaps less enthusiastic to help you or don't provide you with the real guidance. And in these situations, that creates, I guess, an arrangement in which there's winners and losers in the situation. And winners can defy the odds of resources perhaps being inadequate, and losers don't get to defy those. I want to invite you all to think about your cohort and think about who would be the winners and the losers in these situations. For me, I think for winners, I think about people that have more extra time, perhaps don't have to have a part-time job or don't have any sort of caring responsibilities. I think about people that have lots of connections, a supportive family, a family who are successful in their careers, a family who have lots of time to spare. When I think about losers, I think about people that have less time to spend figuring out these systems. I think about people who have fewer connections or connections to people that actually cause them more stress. And the funny thing with this situation is that with these winners, they can achieve regardless of whether they access support because they have the time and the connections and the money to find other ways to navigate the situation. And for the people that lose out, they become even less privileged. So this is why I'm focusing on the conduct and implementation of welfare and liberation resources. I'm thinking about how to provide more outreach and how to increase convenience. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me sort myself out. First of all, I just want to say hi, Mum, because she's watching at home. So, hello, everyone. I'm Zoe Mann. I am a third year studying politics. I'm also a front of house worker at the SU desk, so some of you might recognise me from there. But most importantly, I am the current class liberation officer. This role has allowed me to be part of loads of amazing projects, including setting up our amazing Kickstart social mobility mentoring scheme, launching the Working Class Collective, and alongside our amazing GenSec, tripling the Hardship Fund. I've loved my role and being able to create tangible change that impacts others, and that's why I want to be your next Welfare and Liberation Officer. This is not a position I take lightly. Students are currently facing mass repression on campus, whether it's the silencing of victims of sexual violence, or the rise of Islamophobia, or the suppression of trans and queer voices on campus. Additionally, the welfare of disabled students like myself is being jeopardized by the inadequacy of LSE support. On top of this, all students, now more than ever, are struggling to afford to exist at LSE and outside of LSE. So that's where I come in. What's my plan? My first point is activism. This includes divestment, creating solidarity spaces, and supporting suppressed students, as well as our first LSE Community Week for fundraising for local initiatives. Next point is access. This is adequate adjustments, expanding our amazing participation fund, and helping with student job security. My last point is it. This includes the Bike Club, as I've called it. That's for lunch spaces, doubling the amount of microwaves and hot taps on campus, and a free breakfast club. I just want to say, yeah, if you like the sound of my plan, vote for me for Welfare and Liberation Officer. Thank you.
also running for this position, we have Saira Ghani, and also Reopen Nominations Ron is also running in this election. So straight into the questions. Just to say, we're probably going to do more questions for this role just because there's a lot less people. It's not because we massively prefer this position or anything. It's just we've got more time. So straight into it, how are you going to ensure that campus is a safe space for everyone? And Isabel, I'll let you start.
So my first priority on my manifesto is to reform reporting processes. I think people that have experienced sexual assault or have experienced microaggressions on campus don't feel supported by staff and don't feel supported by processes. Another thing I want to think about is communities and networks. I want to strengthen networks with the student union so that people feel like they will be supported if these things were to happen to them. I also want to increase outreach so that when something is to happen to a student, they are contacted and the staff are initiating these situations, because for a student that's already gone through something traumatic, the last thing they want to do is to lead their own advocacy. So.
Yes, so I have a whole point in my manifesto about solidarity spaces and also obviously supporting suppressed students on campus. In terms of solidarity space, this would encourage students to campaign and organise and be able to bring up issues that they feel are impacting them on campus. Support for suppressed students includes legal and pastoral signposting, the reformation of survivor spaces, and to provide automatic fast-track counselling for people that need support. These spaces are vital, as you were saying. Students really need the support, so I want to give that additional space itself, but then practical implementations to help them out.
Cool, amazing, thank you. I'm going to come back to you, Zoe, just to swap up the order. The next question is, as an officer, would you be a friend of the university administration or an adversary?
Okay, so I don't have a prepped answer for this, so you're going to get what you're going to get. I think it's the administration, right? Yeah. They're really necessary to change in our institution. And as an officer, we need to have professional relations with them. I think that this institution has systemic problems that need to be addressed. We don't have, not everyone's on our side on certain issues. So I would say I would be an adversary in the sense that I would push back and promote student voice. But I would have good relations with the administration to ensure that student voice can be heard, and yeah, just pushing back for what students need.
So I think when I'm navigating this question, I don't have a clear answer on this. And I think perhaps I want to reframe it and think about approaching this and having very clear principles. So as a welfare and liberation officer, I would have very clear priorities. And my top one would be about whether a resource is causing more inequality or less. And I guess really, if someone is promoting something that's causing more inequality, then I would be an adversary. But I equally think that people are very enthusiastic for change, and I want to encourage those kind of relationships and work really well with staff. So I think hopefully, for the most part, I would be a friend of LSE management.
Cool, thank you. The next question is, there is a protest happening on campus that you are incredibly passionate about, but a meeting with university management happening at the same time. Which are you going to go to? And Isabel, I'll let you start.
Well, I think we all agree that the purpose of a protest is to tackle the people at the top that are making decisions. So if I'm going to a meeting with these people, I probably wouldn't go, because otherwise there's no disruption to their everyday life. So I think it's actually really important that we do that. And I have been implementing that with the LGBTQ society. For example, we've had events that have occurred at the same time as impromptu protests from the Palestine Society, and we have cancelled events. I think that's really important.
Sorry, I was just remembering the question.
Can you read it again?
Yes, is that okay?
Yeah, so there's a protest happening on campus that you're incredibly passionate about, but a meeting with university management happening at the same time. Which are you going to go to?
Okay. I'm just thinking about why is there a protest? Protests are always for a reason. How can I use my position in a meeting, probably with senior heads of LSE, to utilize student voice? So I would either say to them, meet the demands of the students, or at least have a meeting with the students, or I'm not attending the meeting. So I think, yeah, you've got to have an in-between of raising student voice, but then also making sure that students are at the table and that you utilize your position to do such.
Thank you. The next question is, should the Students' Union have a responsibility to comment on international political events? And Zoe, I'll come back to you.
I feel like it's like tag team or something. Yes, I think the student unions should. If students are asking for it, we should talk about it. Obviously, we have to act under charity law, but if students put in proposals and they want to speak about something, we should facilitate that.
So I do agree with Zoe. I take the same approach that the student union should be responding to international events. And I also think it's really important to think about how these events are impacting students in a more comprehensive sense. When something happens in your life, it exacerbates all of the troubles that you're going through. So promoting things like well-being, resources, staff, and contacts. So yeah.
Cool, we're zooming through. We're going to run out of questions. Do you think the presence of security on campus is a positive or negative for the welfare of students? And Isabel, back in.
That's a very interesting one. I think from my perspective, I do feel like the security at sometimes are very intimidating, especially towards students that might be advocating for themselves or protesting. And that's definitely something to look at, whether it's kind of increasing training or curating training for security guards, because obviously they can only do what they've been told to do. And there's many different conventions about what it is or what it means to be a security guard. So yeah, I think that definitely needs a look at.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think security guards should be trained in anti-bias training, anti-Islamophobia training. I've seen with my own eyes how security can act in distasteful ways, to put it lightly. Who is security here to protect? That's the question. I think that students should feel safe on campus and we need security for that means. So as long as security is here to protect students on campus, then I'm all for it.
Cool. We'll do a couple of, actually no, before we do that, the next question is, what does liberation mean to you?
I wrote a little bit for this because it's a big question. If you ask yourself, what does liberation mean to you? It's a lot to think about. For me, liberation is enabling marginalized students to feel empowered on campus. Liberation is a collective act. We cannot be free until we're all free. Liberation means listening and working with others and making tangible change to improve the life of all individuals, whether on campus or off campus. Liberation can be in many forms. It can be through joy, like queer joy, or, you know, I think in liberation is however you personally take it. But yeah, I want to make sure as a welfare and liberation officer that all students feel that they can be liberated on campus. Thank you.
I definitely resonate with Zoe's point. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about a feeling of hope. And I think that's a massive part of liberation. And I think there are many things in LSE that cause people to not feel so much hope, especially to do with their interactions with staff. We're talking about security guards. I'm also thinking about mentors, support staff, well-being staff. And I think in terms of liberation, those interactions with people are incredibly important and we don't think about it enough. And another thing that I think is really important for liberation is looking at structures and whether they are really disabling or not. I think sometimes we like to think of liberation in conventional terms and just think, yes, this is great, we have this resource and this project, but we need to really look into the fine detail of things and think about who is accessing these resources.
Amazing. And we'll go with two more. And this is a slightly reworded version of the one on the sheet because I have a slightly different list. But you represent lots of different students with different experiences that may lead to them holding differing views. How do you manage and maintain campus cohesion in that instance? I'll give you a minute to think because I'm nice. I can't remember. But if you're ready, then
Yeah.
feel free.
Sure. You sure? Yeah. Okay. I think a massive thing to do with cohesion is just communication. We don't have enough opportunities to talk to each other on a civil level. So I think increasing the amount of forums and consultations with students, I think a lot of the time negotiations that happen between the student union and LSE management tend to not engage enough with what students think about things. And actually there's negotiations that I've been involved with when talking to students about it and debriefing. They're kind of shocked that these things are even happening. So I think communication is a massive thing, and that's why I really want to strengthen part-time officer networks to feed back to students and work with societies and communities.
As a part-time officer, I don't represent all working class students on campus. I'm very aware of that. And I have to kind of funnel everyone's opinions and everyone's experiences and represent that in my role. I think cohesion comes with exactly what you said, communication. But not only communicating with others, being able to listen and take that into account. I think that's really like a really integral skill that has to come with this role. So yeah.
One more, you're so nearly there. So this is the wildcard one, which you haven't seen before. In the spirit of like welfare and well-being, what's your ideal day? And yeah, 20 seconds for this one, just to add stress.
I think my ideal day would perhaps be to just kind of roll out of bed into my garden and read a book and have lots of nice snacks and food and have lots of connections with my friends, feel a sense of joy, feel a sense of community, and yeah.
So my flatmate's actually here, and she'd probably think I'd say roll out of bed at 3 p.m. But what I'm going to say is actually get up early, go to Columbia Road Flower Market, get some flowers, make some breakfast, put the records on that we have in our living room, just chill out, and then yeah, just hang out in the day. I like a bit of downtime. And yeah, anything centered around food as well, food markets, anything like that, good music and good food. I'll be there.
If you are done, you can relax. So yeah, big round of applause for both of us. We'll have a 5-minute break now. A 5-minute break, and then we will move on to activities and community.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So now we are talking to our Activities and Communities Officers nominees. The ANC officer works to create and sustain the LSE community. This will involve supporting campaign groups to reach their goals, helping develop LSESU sports clubs, societies, and providing opportunities for people across the globe to get to know each other. They will help organise events such as the Freshers' Fair and will work closely with the Raising and Giving President and the Athletics Union President on their campaigns and projects. They will also lead the sustainability initiatives at the SU, working closely with the Ethics and Sustainability Advisor and Green-focused societies. We only have one candidate here today called Sachin.
Thanks, guys.
Sachin, would you like to give us 2 minutes, tell us who you are, why we should vote for you?
Sure. So good evening, everyone. My name is Sachin Bopal-Myers. I'm running to be your next Activities and Communities Officer. You may know me from being RAG Vice President, Student Action for Refugees, founder and co-president, or a lacrosse player. And I'm running because I truly care about student communities, about student life and student well-being. So when I was crafting my manifesto, I spoke to countless student leaders because I wanted to make sure that this is not my manifesto, but it's our manifesto. I wanted to represent everybody at LSE. So the first part of my pledges is called Make Activities Work for You. So I pledge to streamline clubs and society organizing in the student union so that student groups can organize easily and efficiently. I also want to create an LSESU events app so that everyone knows what's going on at LSE, at the SU. And I also want to expand the participation fund and create a new Berrylands travel fund so that everyone can access the community of sport. The second part of my pledges is called Stamp It Out. So Stamp It Out is all about stamping out the problems and discrimination at LSE which divide our community. So I pledge to work with student leaders to take action and stamp out Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, the mental health crisis, and sexual violence. This will be specifically targeted through a pledge to mandate fully trained proper welfare officers on every single sports club and every society. That should be a red line. It shouldn't be a choice. I would also fight for LSE to divest from weapons manufacturing, the arms trade, and fossil fuels. Because why should our university fees be funding war and genocide in Palestine, in Congo, in Sudan? Lastly, I will unleash and empower all students so that everyone is free to thrive. I'm pledging to protect free speech on campus so that everyone can speak out and stand up for what they truly believe in. I also pledge to create new funding for clubs and societies to run taster sessions throughout the year so that they can get more money and also get more membership. And lastly, I pledge to make fundraising more accessible to everyone with better access to card readers and less bureaucratic processes. So if you vote for me, you're voting for a radical new approach to activities and communities at LSESU. An approach which is student-focused and pledges which have been crafted in response to conversations with the very student leaders who participate in those activities and communities. Vote Sachin for activities and communities. We're stronger together with Sachin.
Also running for ANC officer is Vishal Nath, and our busiest candidate of the week, reopening nominations. Ron.
Scared of Ron.
You might as well stay stood up,
Sure.
which you are doing. Thank you. Yeah, we'll go through the questions right now. Why are you running to be the next activities and communities officer?
Sure. So as someone who actually wanted to drop out in first year because I didn't really feel like I was a part of like the student community, I know what it means to be isolated. I know what it means to feel like you're not really part of LSE, which is supposedly our tagline, whatever you call it. But the main thing which did keep me here was actually those student communities, those societies, those sports clubs, which actually made me feel like I'm part of something bigger. So from organizing RAG, which is Raising and Giving, shout out, as vice president for the last year, and also as founding Student Action for Refugees with my fellow co-president who's here tonight, I feel that I've seen firsthand both the joys of organizing, but also those struggles and challenges on campus. So I know what can be done to make that positive change in the SU. And also in my second year, shout out to lacrosse. I've also been a part of the lacrosse team, playing on the twos team, and also being a social member. And I've really felt like through that, I've felt the community of sport, and through that, the community of LSE.
Thank you. How are you going to make LSE more sustainable?
Sure. So as I already mentioned, divestment. To put it simply, why are we not choosing where these investments are going? So LSE currently, if you've seen the assets in apartheid report, they're investing over £89 million in things like genocide, ecocide, and war. So this is everything from fossil fuels to making bombs and stuff like that. That's very unsustainable, not just because it's actually killing people, but also that it's destroying our environment. So the first thing I would do is actually fight for divestment. This is what our students want. This is what the community is calling for, as you've seen loads and loads of protests and even the referendum, which had a record turnout. But I also want to work with different departments to increase sustainability initiatives within departments, and then put those as a cross-department initiative to show good practice on what can be done in different departments. And lastly, whoever is elected as the ethics and sustainability advisor, I will of course support them in their endeavors and also work to make more green spaces on campus and also make them more available to everyone.
If the SU is forced to make budget cuts, would you prioritise money for societies or money for sports teams?
So I first want to say I hope that doesn't happen, because if you do elect me, that's going to be a big job to try and sort out. But nevertheless, the first thing I would do is, even before actually deciding that very tricky dilemma, I would really fight and get SMC to give us more money. LSE has loads of money, so like literally we could easily try and get some more of that. We wouldn't even need that much. But nevertheless, rather than specifying it for one over the other, maybe I'll reframe that question slightly. I would actually prioritize the money for the clubs and societies which are having the most amount of financial stress. So for example, with some sports clubs, they may have over 200 members in them. They're going to be under less financial stress than a club or a society which has less membership and still maybe has lots of turnout. And I don't think it is fair to prioritize one type of student group over another, because I think they all have equal weighting, they're all equally valid. So instead, like, it would just be a focus of who needs the most amount of, who has the most amount of financial need and financial stress, and how can we support that club and society?
So this role represents all students. How will you ensure that you represent the diverse student body effectively?
Sure. So I really want to increase the activities and communities officers' role to be more active within student communities in and around campus. So that's like essentially what I would do is I'd put myself in those meetings. So when I think about representation of a diverse student body, I think of different social characteristics, but I also think of the different things that which people are involved in. So everything from RAG to the Athletics Union to different national and cultural societies. How can I speak to those people best? So firstly, I'd want to expand the campus relations group. For those who don't know, that's essentially a group with people from a lot of different areas of LSE, but I think it can be done better. And I think there's a lot more people who should be involved in that process. And through that, I would use that group to guide my work and to guide how I'm going to approach different quite sensitive topics on campus. And also, as part of my manifesto aims, I also intend to consult student leaders from a diverse range of backgrounds at the beginning of the year. And this is specifically student leaders who have just finished their roles, because I want to understand what's working with activities and communities in the student union and what needs to be done to go better. So then I can put those ideas and those problems actually into action and change.
How will you increase participation in our clubs and societies?
Sure. So there's quite a few different ideas I have. So hopefully I can get this in 2 minutes. But firstly, I think there's a bit of a comms deficit in the SU at the moment. I think a lot of the times I hear about these like really fantastic events and I'm like, damn, like, I didn't know about that. I find out 2 days later because one of my friends goes, oh, I went to go and see this. And I'm like, I would have gone to see that. So firstly, like the LSESU events app, which is in my manifesto, is something I want to create, because students like apps. Every time I've said this to a student leader, they've been like, oh my God, this is life changing. We need this. So I would firstly do that. So, but essentially student groups can put stuff on the app and then people can subscribe to different things. So for example, even if you're not a member of a society, let's say the lacrosse team, you could tick it on the app. And then if there's a new event, it comes up, you can maybe go and attend it. But as well, I want to expand like the participation fund and also create a new Berrylands travel fund, because playing sports at the moment is so expensive. Like if you go to Berrylands, it's a £9 return if you have a rail card. Don't quote me on that. That's what I've been told anyways. Because I play at Regent's Park, so I can walk there, which is really lucky for me. If I had to travel to Berrylands, I flat out wouldn't be going to play sports because I wouldn't have the money for it. So actually making a specific travel fund so that everyone can access sport. And this also is not just going to help students who are on low income, but it will help lots of different students from lots of different backgrounds. And then finally, I'm also proposing a taster session fund. So this would be that clubs and societies can access a pot of money throughout the year to run a give it a go, rather than just at the start of the year. A lot of clubs and society leaders have told me that when it gets to January or when it gets to March, suddenly their turnout's gone from being 50 people to 20 people. And a lot of the times they can advertise a new event in a proper way with money to actually do something different. They would be much more effective in that. So that's why I'd introduce that as well.
If you were to get this role and a student approaches you with an idea to create a society that most of the student population would deem to be controversial, how would you approach this and how would you move forward?
Sure. So that's quite a contentious question. But I think, firstly, we really need to identify the difference between hate speech and controversy. Something can be controversial and it cannot be hate speech, and something can be hate speech and be controversial. So the first thing to do is make that difference as well. Obviously, make sure that the student who is, or the students who are trying to create this new group understand free speech rules and so on, so that they are not only complying with the law, but they're not actually enacting hate on the society. I would firstly then consult the campus relations group and say, this is a new proposal. This is a new idea. What do we think of this? How can we make this work without harming other people on campus? I would also meet extensively with everyone involved in that student group and explain to them that this is a controversial topic, and make sure that they understand that they need to not harm people in that process, and that as long as they're acting by not doing any harm, then that's also okay. I would also point out that like controversial student communities, they exist regardless of whether they are as a student group or not. So it's better that they're in the SU, so then we can actually support them so that they're not harming other people. And also part of my manifesto is focused around protecting free speech. I mean, everyone's seen this at the moment. Like when we go and protest, security aren't on our side. When we go and protest, LSE aren't on our side. And that's why I'm really keen to protect free speech so that students can speak about controversial topics, because it's good to speak about controversial topics. If you don't speak about controversial topics, then what's the point in engaging in any form of debate? Because otherwise you're just going to stick with the same. So that's what I would do.
That was a heavy question. What's the best society on campus and why?
I think this is about to be a shameless plug, and you guys aren't going to be happy, but it's got to be RAG, because I am the current vice president of it. So shout out to RAG. Can I get a woo for RAG? Anyone? Yeah, there we go. That's better. The reason why RAG is the best society on campus, for me at least, is that we put on really, really cool events. So like everything from the casino night to the fashion show, also the club nights, the different socials we have on offer. We had like a sip and paint recently. There's so many different things which we do. And all of that money, all of that profit goes to charity, which means that whenever you're partying at one of our club nights, or whenever you're fake gambling at the casino night, you're also having some social impact to that. And it's not just like, we're not just taking the money and putting it in our pocket, we're actually sending that to charities, which the students voted for, which is also really great, because it means that we are actually representing the interests of the students in that process. The different ones we shortlisted when we were deciding for our charities were a big wide range of topics, but the three charities which came out of that were 2 refugee charities and 1 domestic abuse charity, which shows that those students, our students, really care about that. So that's why RAG is my favorite society.
Back to the deep issues at hand. So in universities across the UK, we see university management trying to replicate or take over the administration of sports clubs and societies in order to take away funding from the students' unions. Ooh. Why is it important that societies and sports clubs remain under the remit of student unions?
Well, firstly, the SU is not part of LSE. They're a separate charity. And that's really important, because it means that when students are organizing and when they're like going to play sports, or when they're campaigning on an important issue in a student society, that they're not having an agenda forced onto them. So especially at LSE, there's been loads and loads of big issues at the moment. Everything from the encampment last year to women's rights not being taken seriously. We can see that like the reason why the SU exists is to represent those students, and it's also to then challenge the university on those issues. it's not for us to sit within the uni, but to sit outside so that we can make our experience within the uni better. I'd also say that like the uni could just silence us, like really simply, and we've seen that before. And so that would be my main reason for actually ensuring that that's the case. As well, funding shouldn't be dependent on being inside the university for those very reasons. If we're being given money by the student union, by the uni, that should be for the freedom of the students to then use how we see fit. And that's what we do really well. Everything from like the soft fund applications, like I know that we were speaking today about our RAG social coming up. We don't want the uni to be silencing us on that. We want to have the freedom for that. And that's why I would really, really disagree with the university trying to take over anything like that.
I love it. 2 more questions, Sachin.
Cool.
The penultimate question is, our sports teams and societies are completely dependent on the work and passion of student volunteers. As an officer, how would you like to see the SU recognise the contribution of these volunteers?
So obviously we have the like society awards at the moment, and I think that's really cool. I actually won Activist of the Year last year, so shameless plug there, but nevertheless. And I think that kind of event could be transformed into something so much bigger. Unfortunately, because of some different factors, that event didn't even go ahead for the awards night. So firstly, like bringing back that awards night, because that's really, really fun just alone, but also getting not just the people who've been nominated and their friends, but all the student leaders involved, so it can be a proper celebration. I think at the end of the year, when you've been organizing all year long, you get quite tired, but having like a proper celebration to look forward to, where you can also network and meet other students as well, would be really really amazing. So I'm thinking of something much more big, much more grand, and also something where people can have a bit of a blowout, have a bit of fun, and just enjoy it.
Lovely. And as always, our last question is a wild card. Sorry for whipping through all these questions.
That's okay.
So many. So obviously, our societies are based off of student interests.
Mm-hmm.
The people want to know what you think about this one. Is Taylor Swift overrated?
Okay. I would have to say that I don't personally listen to Taylor Swift. However, I am known to fake propose to people at Sway when Love Story comes on. So do with that information as you will.
Thanks for getting all through the whole those questions. We're going to take a quick break now before we go to General Secretary at past. But thank you, Sachin.
Perfect, thank you. So Sachin Vasio. Do you want to give me a
Oh, okay. I think we're going to get started again. So if you could all take your seats, and if our General Secretary candidates, please take the floor. Amazing. So our General Secretary is the primary liaison between LSE and the Students' Union. The sabbatical officers represent all LSE students and lead on major campaigns, strategic developments, projects, and events. So the General Secretary directs the union's representative work, acts as a union spokesperson, chairs our executive committee, chairs our trustee boards, and acts as a primary liaison between the school and the union, and essentially is like the head representative of students at LSE and is the most powerful person at the Students' Union. Amazing. Do you know who wants to go first? Have you decided that?
Sure, I can go first.
Amazing. Great.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Tito. I did my undergrad at LSE in social policy and my master's in anthropology. I've got a wide range of experience. It's fair to say this is not my first rodeo. I was the women's officer of the LSESU, and I was the president of the LSESU Poetry Society, but most significantly, I am currently the General Secretary of the LSESU. So far as General Secretary, it's been a really amazing year. Just a couple of the wins we've had. The LSE and LSESU Summer Ball is finally happening after 6 years of trying. The Hardship Fund has been tripled. Shout out to our Class Liberation Officer. And we've also worked with the estates team to increase green spaces on campus. If you haven't been to the 6th floor of the SU building, you should go. So why am I running again? Well, I'm running again because I feel like I have the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding and experience to actually get things done. My slogan is "It's time for Tito," and I really think it's time for change. I feel like people talk a lot about transforming LSE, and I think now that I've done this role once, I actually know what it will take to do it properly. To be honest, being General Secretary for the first few months, you are just learning the ropes. You're not really actually doing the job. And I feel like now that I've done that already, I can kind of just start this year flying, basically. So some of my main aims are to tear down barriers at LSE. So I want to work on accessibility and student financial hardship. Of course, that's something we've already started working on, but there's so much more to be done. I want to make sure we thrive as a community. So that means revamping communal spaces on campus, revamping our wellbeing services, and also making sure that students know their rights. That's something a lot of students have said to me. And finally, I want to transform LSE. I think it's particularly important to look at the SU and how we need to be more transparent. We need to be faster with giving support and help for students. I've heard a lot of people tonight talk about all the bureaucracy with the SU, and I really want to work to tear that down. That's a lot, but to summarize, in general, I think if you vote for me, you're voting for a candidate who has the experience and the knowledge to actually transform LSE. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may know me from the Flamingo Shorts video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go to my Instagram afterwards. I think you'll be a little bit embarrassed. Before I came up here, Tito asked me, are you going to answer some questions seriously? To answer that question, yes, very much so. We're a professional candidate, professional election. We're going to answer it in an incredibly professional way. So I begin by announcing some new policies, ladies and gentlemen. LSE will officially adopt a beaver who shall henceforth be known as Morgan Stanley. Everyone will be General Secretary for a day. We shall rename London Economics, and thus the London School of Economics shall be henceforth known as the Economics School of London. Sorry, that one didn't make any sense. All eye contact going up LSE library stairs shall be banned. Replace the LSE Executive Office with the Department of Accounting to improve accountability. Drum and bass shall be played in every elevator on campus between the hours of 7 and 10 a.m. in order to help wake people up in the morning. In line with the upside down globe, All maps on campus shall be flipped the wrong way up. Thank you for your time. Please, God, don't vote for me.
Oh, amazing. On to the questions. So we'll start off with, as General Secretary, what will be your number one priority? And I will start with you. Just top up. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a serious plan, the Kramer plan. We're talking about significant investments in the billions of pounds to build an overpass between Sway and the Marshall Building. It's never been done, it's ambitious, I know. And believe me, we're going to need the support of Larry Kramer in full, but we're going to do it. It'll be a fully contained economy within LSE. That's right, full graduate employment. Full graduate employment on the Kramer plan, ladies and gentlemen. That overpass is going to take years to build, 100 years potentially, but we'll do it. And I'm proud of that.
So, as I said before, one of my manifesto pledges is an SU for everyone. So what does that mean? Well, I think the SU needs more efficient processes. We need less bureaucracy for clubs and societies. We need faster support for all students. We need to make sure that when students come to us, they actually get what they asked for. So I'm particularly interested in expanding the SU to make sure we represent commuting students, international students, and postgrad students who I feel don't really feel like the SU is for them. This also includes general course students, extended education students, etc. And then finally, transparency. The SU needs to be more transparent about what we actually do. I reckon there's some people in this room who don't even know what a general secretary really does, despite the fact that, you know, we do say it a lot and we talk about it, but I still don't think lots of students actually understand what sabbatical officers are, etc. So I think making sure that we're more transparent so that students actually know what we do. Yeah.
I should have said earlier as well that there is 2 other people running for the position of General Secretary. We have Prakriti Dakal, who is also running, and then also reopen nominations is also an option in this election. On to the next question. LSE is a world-class university, but what does a world-class students' union look like to you? And Tito, I will let you start with this one.
I think this is a really good question. So currently as General Secretary, we do a lot of work with other SUs. There's something called NUS, which is the National Union of Students, and that's kind of how you meet other sabbatical officers, etc. So you can kind of compare. And I think the difference between a world-class student union and one that's not, I'd say a few things, but the first thing I would say is student voice and student communities need to be the top priority of a student union. So that means that if a student says, I have this issue, there needs to be a clear way for that student to get an answer to the issue that they have. I think that student unions have a lot of, as I said, bureaucracy and a lot of slow turnaround times. And I think that that's a real difference between a world-class student union and one that's not. I also would say that advocacy that is genuine is very important because students often begin to see a student union as the same as the institution. I think a lot of students lose trust and they don't feel like the student union is actually for them. They start to think that we are the same as LSE when we're not. So I think a world-class student union needs to show itself as separate and different from the institution that it works alongside, while still also accessing the resources and the support that the school can give to the student union.
Could you repeat the question for me?
Yeah, of course. So LSE is a world-class university. What does a world-class students' union look like to you?
Okay. You know what we're missing in the London School of Economics? We don't have a guy who founded the university in a glass box somewhere. We need that. Whether it be that we steal Jeremy Bentham, I don't know. But we need to put some guy of some description in a box somewhere. I don't know if anyone, does anyone actually in the audience today have any ideas? Who could we put in a box? Go on, someone. All right, fine. We'll put Hayek in a box. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing at the minute, but we'll track him down, we'll find him, and we'll put him in a box. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, amazing. So this role represents all students. How will you ensure that you represent a diverse student body effectively? And Christy, I'll jump back straight to you.
Okay. I'm actually going to be serious for a second. Okay. One of the reasons why I'm running in this campaign is to raise some basically awareness around an issue that is very easily fixable, which is wheelchair accessibility on campus. So in the center building, for example, there's a lot of weighted doors outside of the elevators, and it makes it quite difficult for people who are in wheelchairs to access them. This is one small thing. There's another small issue that I would really like to focus on, which is that there's not actually reserved wheelchair accessible places on each table, in each building, on each floor, which is why that one thing in between all the nonsense is actually in there in my manifesto. And I would really like if the actual General Secretary here could consider implementing this proposal, looking into it, and I think that she'll do a brilliant job, and she will do so. There's one more thing, which is that unfortunately, a lot of people who are from the disabled community are being pushed towards High Holborn accommodation. This is something that I don't understand in depth, but I think it would be really interesting and important to open a review into whether or not High Holborn is a good accommodation which is fit for disabled people. So, genuinely, thank you.
Thank you for that. That was actually really insightful. I didn't know about the High Holborn thing. I think just to answer what Christy said, Sana's the Welfare and Liberation Officer, we've just convinced the school to finally do an audit of the accessibility of the buildings. So that's going to start next year. So that's really exciting. So just to answer the question, so something that Lauren, who's the current Activities and Communities Officer, and I started is called the Student Campus Relations Group, which Sachin touched a bit on the Campus Relations Group, which LSE has. And essentially, it's a student leaders version. So we have student leaders from different societies, a wide range. And I think that's a really good space for us to hear what a wide range of students really think and feel. And it might not be that everyone agrees with each other. It might not even be that we agree with what every student is saying or what they're saying every student thinks, but it's about us giving a platform for them to discuss and feel like they can say what they really feel. I also think that just aside from their voices, it's also important to make sure that all resources are being given to all students. So the hardship fund, the advice service, making sure that we reach out to every student regardless of their opinion on any particular issue.
Thank you. On to our next question. A lot of the barriers to change at LSESU are as a result of national decisions made by politicians about students and the higher education sector. Do you see yourself being a general secretary that gets involved in national change, or is your energy better focused on improving things locally? And Tito, I'll let you start with this one.
I think this is a really good question. So as I mentioned earlier, as a sabbatical officer, we work a lot with NUS, which is the National Union of Students. We also work a lot with the Russell Group Union of Students. And I think this has been really eye-opening to see how much a lot of what we do and what we're struggling with and what we're dealing with as students is actually impacted by the wider governmental issues. And so an example is that we worked with NUS to lobby the government to get rid of guarantors. As you'll know, guarantors, the whole system is really unfair for international students, but also for students who might be from the UK who don't have parents who can afford to be their guarantor. And so we did that lobbying, and that was very exciting. Unfortunately, it's still not happened because the government, but I think that that's something we want to continue pushing for, in particular renters' rights. I mentioned in my manifesto that I'm very interested in students knowing their rights regarding protests, regarding being tenants, etc. So I think I definitely want to make sure that everything we do, we are looking nationally, also so that we can learn from other SUs who are maybe doing a better job than us. Yeah.
I think it's a very important question. Inflation's mad, innit? Right? Okay. Remember, think about this. Tesco meal deals used to be £3, and now what are they, like £3.60? And the worst bit is that you'll go in sometimes and there's this weird meal deal thing going on where you have to get some products that might cost it £4.50. You don't know which one's actually going to increase the price to £4.50. You all know what I'm talking about. Point is, national is not the issue. Intergalactic is the issue. There's a lot of space aliens out there. There's a lot of asteroid impacts that could happen on the LSE campus. Big issue. I'm just saying, we got to totally reframe our thing. Westminster does not control the Milky Way, ladies and gentlemen. Kepler 9 does. And we got to go and negotiate with Kepler 9 because there's an alien invasion coming. And I'm telling you, you got to look out for it. Thank you.
Cool. Amazing. The next question is, democratic engagement with the Students' Union is low, with last year's voter turnout sitting at under 3,000 votes. Why do you think this is? And as General Secretary, what would you do to give students more opportunity to influence the decisions made by their union? And Christy, I'll let you start off with this one.
I think it might be too easy to vote. Consider this. You really want something you can't have, right? So maybe we start hiding polling booths around the place. Set a challenge so that if you're the first guy, first girl to get to a booth, you get 100 votes. I'd be waking up early. I'm probably not even going to vote in this election, to be honest. But the point is, all right, hide them, find them. There's probably a catchphrase in there somewhere.
I think that the issue with the number of students voting is definitely reflective of like a wider SU issue. So as I've mentioned before, I think that students lack trust in us to actually deliver. I think students are exhausted of trying to engage with our processes and not getting what they wanted. So for example, we have student union policies, and historically a lot of them, people would submit a policy and they'd never actually see it happen. But this year is one of the first times where we've actually been saying, okay, this got passed, let's do it. And then let's tell people we've done it. So I think that's what students want to see from the SU. They want to know, if I'm going to vote, it's actually going to work out. So I think increasing awareness on what we're doing so students know that when they vote, there's actually a point to doing that. And as I said earlier, increasing awareness on what the roles actually mean. Maybe people aren't voting because they have no idea what we're even talking about. When we say General Secretary, what does that mean? And then I also think increasing the accessibility of the SU in general, making sure students, as I mentioned, who are international students, postgrad students, commuting students, general course students, know that they also can vote. If you think about the student union, the LSE student population, it's mostly international student and postgrad. Those are our majority groups, and yet they engage with the SU less. So if we work more to bring them in, I think we'd have a lot more votes.
Amazing. Thank you both. Sorry, just choosing which one to do next. Why are you running for General Secretary? So I'll let you answer this one first.
So as I mentioned earlier, I think I'm running for General Secretary because I feel like I needed to get a year to learn, understand, grow, see how things work. And now I feel like although we've had so many successes this year, I think we'll have even more this year if I'm elected. And I think on a personal note, I really love the job. I think it's the best job ever. I have so much fun every single day, and I'm not ready to give that up, to be honest. I think students at LSE have often been let down by the SU because our processes weren't the way they should be. And I think with a General Secretary who actually knows more than someone who wouldn't know as much, I think they wouldn't be as let down anymore.
No idea. I believe, however, that despite possibly being the most unqualified person here, with the least interest in the job, I have some important skills. I'm very good at Mario Kart. I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart recently, like a lot. I got 3rd place in Rainbow Road recently on 150cc on the hardest difficulty. It takes a long time, a lot of time spent indoors playing Mario Kart to get that good at Mario Kart. Passfield Hall, of course, is where the best Wii is for Mario Kart. So if anyone wants to come over to Passfield Hall afterwards and like play some Mario Kart or something, you're fully welcome to. Yeah, I'll finish on this, okay? I might be the worst candidate, absolutely unqualified, absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And I might be a terrible decision and a bad person to vote for.
Being a sabbatical involves creating student campaigns to lobby for better things for LSE students. What campaigns do you see yourself leading if you were elected for the next year? And Christy, back to you.
Kramer plan. Guys, come on. Come on. Kramer plan. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Sway, all of the high value London real estate between Sway and Marshall Building, totally gone. We're going to do it. It's going to require a lot of support. We might have to talk to Kepler 9, get those guys to come in, use some of their alien spaceships to get some development stuff done. But we're going to do it. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this. And we're going to have to be working very closely with the university for this. So, yeah, Kepler 9, guys. Let's look out for them.
So in the SU, we have something called wicked problems, which essentially it just means an issue that's old and systemic and something you think you can't solve easily. And I think that these issues we really need to push campaigns on, and I really want to lead on those campaigns. So a really good example, of course, is divestment. People in the school might say that it's a really complicated thing, it can't happen overnight. But I think that's where we need to lead the campaigns. We need to make sure that students are out, we're mobilizing students to talk about these issues and to raise their voice. I also think decolonizing the curriculum is another one of these issues. We all say decolonizing the curriculum, but what does that really mean? And how would we actually get that done? Well, it's definitely not overnight. I think if we mobilize students and we push them to think about what that would mean from their perspective, I think that these are campaigns that could actually lead to those things happening faster than we think.
We'll do 2 more and then we can all go home. Who inspires you as a leader? And Tito, I'll go back to you.
So when I saw this question, the first person I thought of is a woman called Grace. Grace is the CEO, the acting CEO for the student union. So I think students would know Grace, but the staff team will know Grace. She's just such an amazing leader, but I think the best thing about her leadership is that she somehow will manage to still make the team feel so happy. She doesn't just prioritize us getting things done, but she'll actually send a text in the Teams chat to the whole team saying, "Morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope everyone's having a great day." Just small things like that. I think that's really what leadership is about, is not losing sight of like the people you're working with, not just thinking about, oh, we need to get this done and that done, but she actually makes sure that everyone feels like happy in the team, which I think is really important.
There's one man who every day, between the hours of around sometimes 12:30 to 3 o'clock, is out, standing outside the Sweesaw Hawk building. He's handing out the best food you've ever eaten, and that's the Hare Krishna man. I tell you guys, we need to get this guy something. I don't know. Has anyone like paid him with like a lot of money or something? Like PhD. Let's circle back to it. This guy needs an honorary PhD in culinary science because it's some of the best food I've ever eaten. And let me tell you something. We're going to have to probably start a culinary science department, and we're probably going to have to get some chefs. I'll be the first to volunteer. I can make beans on toast. That's all. All right, bye. Thanks.
Cool, amazing. And then one final question, which is our wildcard question. As General Secretary, you are the highest representative of students at LSE, so you have to be pretty, like professional and embody that, like the height of that office. But to give us a glimpse behind the curtain, what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done? I'll give you a couple of minutes. Not a couple of minutes. I'll give you like 20 seconds. And then we'll go with Christy first. So just bear in mind this is live streamed and will be published after. So don't say anything too wild.
I'm scared.
That should be it.
I'm not going to say much. Those board shorts, the flamingo ones, they've seen some pretty terrible things.
I don't even know what to say. Okay. Something I've started doing, it is a little bit boring, but it is fun. Someone taught me that if ever you have something due and you've not finished it, and they ask you to send it to them, what you do is you send it to them, but you deny them access. And then the next day you send them an email and you say, oh, hi, I'm so sorry. I just realized you can't access this. Let me give you access. And then you give them partial access. So they have to request it. And then you get more time to like actually finish it. And then 2 days later you say, oh, I'm so sorry. Like it was an issue. I finally figured it out. I've done that several times in this school.
Thank you both. You've done. You can now relax. Thank you. Give it up for both of our.
That's why I can't access the spreadsheet. Sorry. And days for that.
Ready? That is it. We did it.
So thank you to all our candidates for an interesting, thoughtful and very insightful conversation about the future of your Students' Union. Don't forget that voting is open next Tuesday and Wednesday. It opens 9 a.m. on Tuesday, closes 4 p.m. on Wednesday. It's on the SU website. There'll be polling stations around campus. There'll be SU staff all over. You can't miss us. We'll be in a black t-shirt and we'll have a massive flag. And someone might be around in the beaver costume. We don't know yet. So vote on the website. The results of the election will be announced in person on the 6th floor, all being well, on Friday the 21st at 3 p.m. in the Sauce We Hot building. Maybe see you then. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
I was actually so nervous.